Right, Mopar people, welcome back to the channel. I'm just Mopar Joe, and when I hang out with Rick Seaman, we end up finding all kinds of old Mopars that need to be started after 25 years of sitting. Right now I'm sitting in a Volare. It's probably the nicest one I've ever seen, and they had to drag it out of the way. I'll show you that in just a minute. But we're trying to get to a sweet 70 Road Runner. The Road Runner, I think he said, went to the Nationals in '99 or something, so it hasn't ran since then. It's been parked. So they got the intake off. The goal is get the car back to Rick's house and kind of go through it, do all the correct steps to get it running. So this is kind of my early part of the journey, and here we go. Check this rig out. This thing's super cool, like could wash and clean right up. And there's a drag mark. Rick said they had to pull her out of there. Come around.
I think they just made like 40 some odd with this top.
40?
40 some odd. That was according to an article in Mopar Collector's Guide years ago.
Wow.
With that top. They made these in '78 only. All of the Plymouths were Crimson Sunfire Metallic.
Mm-hmm.
The Dodges were called Sable, like Sable Tan. It was a brown Sunfire Metallic.
This is factory paint, right?
Right.
Wow.
Right. They just made them in '78. A lot of people confuse them with the Volare Road Runners. Uh-oh.
Let me pop it. There it is. Somewhere in there.
This one, they had of course you can see my orange box. I got rid of the lean burn.
Little 318?
It's 360.
360.
They
okay.
all had 360s.
That's right.
And they had I think they called them like a 360 high performance.
Uh-huh.
This is a E58 360. It's the only one I've ever seen in a Super Coupe, and I've seen quite a few Tonats and stuff. You can tell the E58s with because of the black valve covers and this barcode on it here.
Okay.
And they were basically a police engine, but that was also the same engine they put in the Little Red Express trucks. But anyway, they all came. Those wheels were real popular. I bet you've run into them on trucks before. All the Little Red Express guys wanted Super Coupe wheels for a while because they're 15x8s.
Yeah, they look wide.
The Magnum GTs had the same looking wheel, but they were 15x7s.
Mm-hmm.
But
sweet.
anyway, I'll be quiet and let you film.
Oh no, I'm good. I wanted some backstory on this dude.
It's got the deluxe vinyl interior in it, which most of them had the standard vinyl interior. That leather wrapped wheel actually is for Cordova, but I found it and couldn't resist. I had to put it on there. And check out the radio.
I know. I'd say I had a couple of those.
I'm not surprised.
Had some Little Red Express guys wanting to buy that. She's coming out of the barn. We got to get close to this one.
Hang on. Whoa, hold for a second.
He said the car hadn't been rained on since he's owned it in 1981. First bought it. The big reveal.
I don't know how we're going to stop it.
Well, get a couple of those blocks. We can put behind it.
Okay. I
Or
guess.
behind the front wheel.
And you can put it in reverse.
Yeah, tell them get on up on that flat up there.
It don't really get much flatter. Maybe right there. Pistol grip. Pistol grip 4-speed 383 Road Runner.
AC.
Man, he said it was the heaviest option car, heaviest option Road Runner or something. Yeah. I wish they could smell this smell, man.
All right, we're ready for the deli.
74,000 miles. Boom.
It's in here.
All right, you want to tell me about it now? Tell me about this thing.
This one just happens to be the most heavily optioned Road Runner I've run into. My theory is, since it's listed as on the option list as a sold car, that the person that ordered it most likely wanted a 4-speed with air conditioning, and as I understand it, on a GTX with a 440 engine, you can't get both 4-speed and air. I think you had to do either or to get. So that's my thinking is that's why they ordered the Road Runner.
Wow.
But it's it has power disc brakes, power steering, air conditioning, wood grain steering wheel, pedal dress up, has the performance axle package, which
Let me show them right there.
the 355 gear ratio with sure grip,
Man,
3/4 rear end.
It's so straight.
It has, and of course in that package also you get the heavy duty cooling radiator, which I assume you would have with air conditioning anyway, and heavy duty suspension.
Look at that frame.
Has the deluxe bench seat interior,
Mm-hmm.
and a 8-track jukebox.
Can we see under the hood? I know
Absolutely.
Rick wants to show all that later and get into the startup on it, but see kind of its current status.
It's a numbers matching car front to back. When I bought the car in '81, it was like so many old 70,000 mile cars. It just needed a basic engine rebuild. So it was torn down. We put in new rings, bearings, cam, just your basic engine rebuild. But to my knowledge, the transmission, none of the other drivetrains ever been out of it. It's all as it was factory installed. And pulled the carburetor and intake manifold off some time back because I had a leak around the valley pan gasket, and we've not yet put it back on. So
Right.
Should be a bolt together and run pretty basically, knowing that the car's been in storage for a while, but still I think it'll start and go easy enough.
I know Rick, he's really into priming the oil pump. He may want to pull the lifters out and look at every one, the way, you know, that sort of deal. But
he did have that in mind on the valves. He wanted to put some oil on the valves.
oh man, yeah, she's pretty clean in there.
I took the oil out that had been in for so long and put new oil in it. So that's why you see it puddled all over.
Mm-hmm. So this is original paint, original interior, you said?
No, it has been repainted.
Okay.
And the interior is original except for the inserts on the driver's seat. We had to replace the inserts, but
Wow.
other than that, just where the driver sits, it's all original upholstery.
Awesome.
It has the standard turn downs on the exhaust.
Yeah, I saw those.
And I'm not sure this is accurate, but what I read years ago was they were standard on the 2-door coupe, but optional on the hardtop.
Really?
Now, I may be passing along bad information there, but
Someone will correct me
It's
in the
something-
comments, or
it's something.
they'll know
Yeah,
in the comments.
and you might ask them, yeah, is this correct? It was something that I had on some old literature that I bought at the Nats, and it was that's what it said. But those are the original tailpipes too.
Wow.
I sure wouldn't want to take them off. There's a couple little rust holes farther ahead. If I ever have to replace them, I'm going to keep those ends.
Absolutely.
Those babies aren't going anywhere.
They look really good. Yeah.
Also has factory hood pins.
Oh yeah. She's ready for the next step. So here's some of our cool old paperwork to go with the 70 Road Runner. And when he had the engine redone in '82, here's the cost of everything. Y'all might be interested in that. Oil pump was $20. Gaskets $35. The block cleaning, where was that one at? Yeah, $12.50. Clean block, $12.50. $700 rebuild, so that's pretty good. And this was old mileage. They wrote down some mileage. We figured it up. It was pretty terrible. So if you, somewhere between 10.8 to 9.5, and then they couldn't afford to fill it up that day, I think. So old road map from 69 to 70. And he's got his muffler sheet. And what was that one? Oh, new carburetor, 146 and $15 to put it on. So.
Hello, Mopar people. This isn't Mopar Joe, but Joe had to go home, if you know what I mean. But he helped us load it up and everything, and now we've got it down here, and we're going to get this one started. If you've been following his channel, you've seen the first 3 we did of the 5, and this is number 4. 70 Road Runner, 4-speed, very original. The problem is it hasn't been started in 25 years. He drove it at the Mopar Nationals in '99, and then he didn't drive it after he got it back. So we're going to have to do what we've been doing on all these other cars. So he took the intake manifold off sometime in the last 10 or 20 years, and so that's fine though. That doesn't hurt us because we'd kind of like to put some cam lube on the lifters and everything. We're going to prime it and everything. I guess I should say what we're going to do, and that is we will be priming it. He's already changed the oil and filter. He said it looked great. Of course, I think the only time he drove it was for a while at Mopar Nationals. Then, so he's got that done. We're going to prime the oil system. We're going to take off the valve covers. We're going to shoot oil on the valve stems. We're going to disregard the fuel system and just, if the pump works, we're going to find out by running a fuel line to a 1-gallon can of gas and see if it works that way. If the carburetor's bad, we've got a different one we're going to try. He's already shot some WD-40 in the cylinders, and we've let it sit for a few months. We're going to shoot some more in there today and hopefully break this thing loose and see how everything goes. Okay, so here's where we're at so far. By the way, the first 3 cars are on Mopar, just Mopar Joe's channel, but since he wasn't going to be able to be here for this, I thought I'd try to get all this filmed, and I think he's going to have whatever he's got. He helped us load it up this morning and talked to the owner, and they talked about the car and everything. So it's an interesting car. But let me tell you where we're at tonight. We've got it looked great in the lifter valley, and we put some stuff on the cam, keep everything good for the startup. And then we finally got the motor to turn over a little bit with the breakover bar, so we think that's all going to be fine. That was the big deal. I mean, if it won't turn over, well, you don't know. I mean, it's been 25 years, but everything's fine. I think everything looks good inside. I know it doesn't make any sense, but it's been sitting inside its entire life, and I guess it's just better that way. So I took off the valve covers. I shot some oil best I could in the valve stems. I got an oil can with a flexible spout, you know, and tried to get it in there the best I could. And so we're trying to get it as lubed as we can before we try to start it. So then I put that valve cover on, and then I come over to this valve cover. And of course all my help is left for the day, but I'm going to keep going. But I want you to look at this and you tell me, okay, look at those rocker arms. This motor was overhauled by a Chevy guy 1,500 miles ago. Look at those rocker arms, the shafts, between the sides of the rocker arm. That shaft has been run the other way. Assuming Trenton put this thing together right when it was new, I mean, what I read, the oil hole is supposed to be down and out. You know, 15 degrees, down and out. On the bottom, where, like a Hemi rocker arm, the oil goes to the bottom where the work's being done. And that thing has to be upside down. I mean, I tried thinking in my mind, well, maybe there's a trick here that I don't know anything about, where you flip it over and put it on the other head or something. No, I don't think so. Message to Just Mopar Joe and another wedge guy I know, and hopefully they'll get back with me soon and I can figure out what's going on. Because if this is wrong, like I think it is, if that shaft is upside down, I was hoping to get it all primed tonight and turn the motor over and all that kind of stuff. Now I'm wondering what to do. But I think hopefully I'll hear from them soon and they can explain this to me if there's something here that I don't understand, but I don't think it'll run upside down. I mean, I think it's wrong. So I'll wait to hear from them and then see what's going on. Okay, I talked to Just Mopar Joe and another wedge head that I know, and they looked at the picture I sent them and they said that's totally wrong. It can't be that way. You can only put that rocker shaft in one way, and it looks like wear to them to me, like it did to me. Okay, I've got the other valve cover off now, and that looks normal to me. So I guess I got to take them off and make sure the oil hole is not going that way, and it's in fact going. Pulled the distributor drive out to oil it, or to prime it, and you would think it would be dry in there after 20 years, or 25 years, but you know, it's still got oil on it. It's all. I'm pumping. What you got?
It hadn't got past 5 pounds yet.
Really? I got a lot of pounds out here. How much? Do what?
15 now.
How much?
20.
20. Huh.
Falling down.
Yeah? Well, man, it's pulling harder than that.
Well, I'm just telling you. Well, the gauge may be kind of stuck, too.
I think we need to take off this intake pan so I can see how much is coming around the lifters. Well, we got oil out here. We got oil around the lifters. Can you believe how shiny those lifters are and rust free, and that cam's the same way? After sitting for 25 years, it just doesn't make sense. And I think that intake manifold's been off for 20 years or more. And, you know, the Valley, I don't know. I just expected this to be a rusted up mess, and it really, really isn't. And there's really oil on everything. Okay, after spending a few hours thinking about this rocker arm situation, I have figured out that the shaft has to be on the right way, or I would be looking at the oil hole. I mean, that shaft has been running upside down at some point. Is the only thing I can come up with. So all I did was put the valve covers back on, and when the owner gets here tomorrow, I'll tell him what I found, and he can tell me how he would like me to proceed. But The fuel tank looked really bad inside, so we disconnected the fuel line coming from the tank and ran it down to that 2.5 gallon, put a new hose on it, ran it down to that 2.5 gallon gas can with non-ethanol gas in it. And we're gonna get we're gonna do some work on the fuel tank itself, but for the purposes of starting, this is gonna work fine. We're going to carburetor on it in the intake. We're going to fill the float bowls with a squirt bottle and check the accelerator pump and the accelerator pedal and make sure all that's working. And we're getting closer. If the fuel pump itself is not working, we have a new one we can put on. So this will just be for startup, and then after we get it going, we'll work on the fuel system itself. We just want to know if this baby's gonna run. Okay, we're gonna give it a shot. All right. Yeah, you don't want to be in gear.
Ready?
See if it'll crank.
Yeah.
I think we got everything like we want.
Did you want? Are you ready?
Yeah. I got it on. Hold on, let me get a shot of gas. We still don't know if the fuel pump's working, but we'll run it a little bit like this and see if it picks it up. If not, we'll put a fuel pump on. Give it a shot. We still don't know if the fuel pump's working, but by God, it runs. Look at that accelerator pump squirting. You see that accelerator pump shooting gas out here? Oh boy. All right. Okay, we got the timing off, and I don't know which way that is. Let's do a little ciphering. By God, it ran. Okay. It appears the fuel pump's not working. It's only running when I put gas in the carburetor. And really, you know, I tried to fill those float bowls, but there's something not right because it's not running long enough to run it out of the float bowls. It's just running on what I'm pouring in there. So that's okay, that's okay. The main thing was, when we started this project was, is the motor locked up and is it gonna run? And the motor looks great inside, the motor was not locked up, and the motor cranked up. So, and in reality, everybody's happy. We can work on these other things. We're not trying to fix every single thing on the car, we just wanted to get it running, and that we did. We put a new fuel pump on, and now it purrs like a kitten. Got an exhaust manifold leak over there, but that's okay. And it sounds good. Well, we had a couple of more problems that at the end of the last video, the engine was running fine when I was pouring gas in the carburetor, and it wasn't knocking, and the lifters weren't clattering, and the accessories were doing fine, but it wasn't picking up fuel for some reason. Well, we knew the fuel pump was out, no big deal, and I put a new one on Monday, but I put gas in the carburetor and it wasn't sucking it up. I couldn't figure it out. So I came out and took the carburetor off, and the flow bowls were full, which didn't make any sense to me. You know, it kept running out of gas. Well, how could the float bowls? Of course, no, that carburetor was found in a box somewhere. That's not even the last carburetor that was on here 25 years ago. He took that off because he didn't like it, and it's been in a box somewhere for 35 years, and then we decided we're going to put it on here and it's going to run good, even though it wouldn't run good 35 years ago, which is totally wrong. If you're going to start a car that hasn't been started in 25 years, you either need a new carburetor or a known carburetor. You know, like you got a carburetor in your shop that you put on a car when you want to get it running, or, you know, you've got a known carburetor. Well, we did that all wrong. We should have put a known carburetor on here, or it, you know, he likes original stuff, and that's the original carburetor. We should have took it to that carburetor guy that did the last carburetor on that gold car, and it turned out great, and the price was reasonable. We should have taken that to him, and we wouldn't be having all these problems. But I took the carburetor off, and you're not going to believe what the problem was. When they put that on there, and they were looking at all the base gaskets he had laying there, and they decided to put this on there. I don't know what this really is, but it looks like a thermal insulator or something. So this is what they use for a base gasket. Well, this is 250 thousandths thick, and these brads that hold it together is 0.290. So you got a 40 thousandths air gap. 40 thousandths underneath that carburetor. The engine was sucking air, all of this, and would not suck a bit of fuel out of the carburetor. So that is the problem, which shocked me, but anyway, now the carburetor is working. We took that carburetor off about 6 or 7 times, or something. The carburetor or the float bowls 6 or 7 times, trying to fix all the leaks. You know, everything on it leaked, and then we wouldn't see it until we got that leak fixed, and then another leak. And start with a known carburetor. Don't go through all this. You've got enough hard stuff to do trying to get the thing running without having to think about carburetor issues. But all of that sorted out. I got the fuel pump on there, and carburetor's good enough for now. We still got some leaks, don't get me wrong. It's still going to have to be rebuilt. So, but we're getting. So that was Tuesday, and Tuesday night when he got ready to leave, I said, well, let's just crank it up one more time because we enjoy listening to it run anyway. So I cranked it up, and it's got 0 oil pressure. Well, that's not good. I wonder what that is. So I shut it off. We talked about what was going on. So I cranked it up again. 0 oil pressure. Yeah, now we get into the crying phase, you know, and he was all upset about it. It wasn't anything to me because, you know, we've had such a good week anyway, you know, getting everything going and everything working out perfect, no water leaks, you know. I was so happy, but he was all upset about it. But so we crank it up again. Still 0 oil pressure. So at this point, you know, you wonder what's really going on. Do you really not have oil pressure, or is your sending unit bad, or is your gauge bad? I think it's got oil pressure. So I went to O'Reilly's and got a Mexican sending unit, put that on there. But same thing, no oil pressure. And I feel, you know, on the forums you see all the time people having oil pressure problems, you know, and you know, you wonder what to tell them, and really, I think first you got to find out if you have oil pressure. I mean, do you have oil pressure? Or do you have a gauge or sensor problem. You need to know if you have oil pressure. So now I'm right back where I was, and I have no idea if I have oil pressure or don't have oil pressure. So I guess next I'll put it on a gauge, put a gauge on it, see if it really has oil pressure. If it doesn't, then it'll be some kind of oil pump or oil filter issue, which for me is very minor. You just take it off and fix it and put it back on. Okay, we've got a gauge on it now. Let's see if it's a oil pump issue or a oil sending unit issue. Okay, as we figured, we've got a sending unit problem. It's got 70 psi. All right. I kind of was hoping it was an oil pressure problem, because I can fix an oil pump and I can't fix a gauge. We've put a new sending unit in it. That didn't fix it. So he's just going to have to live with that. I mean, I can't fix a gauge, right? I mean, I have to have Stewart Warner gauges down there anyway, you know, since I was 16, because I want to know. The old tires wouldn't hold air. They hardly wouldn't hold enough to get it in the shop, but so we put these new tires on it, and he said, well, I put those tires on there in '82, and you know, we don't think about it being that long, but it's been 42 years. I think it was time for new tires. They probably would have been good if they'd been aired up, but they'd sat on flats for 25 years and the rubber was just broke apart. It was terrible. But I feel like I'm doing a lousy job doing this video, because I'm not showing you all the things we're doing, because when my friends show up to help me work, I feel obligated to work with them, and I'm not getting you the good footage. I could have got you stuff like, we thought we needed to do the brakes because they were going to be old and crusty and rusty and just need to get a new caliper kit or brakes or whatever. But when we got the back brakes off, they looked absolutely perfect in there. There wasn't a speck of rust. I told them the wheel cylinder is going to be all rusted up. It's never going to work. It was perfect in there. And then they wanted to clean it up with brake cleaner. I said, no, if you do that, it's going to rust. Just leave it the way it is. It looks absolutely perfect. So we left that alone, and then we checked the calipers. The discs were right at the minimum on the rotor, but that's okay. I mean, the man's never going to drive the car anyway. We're just doing this for fun. And so the rotors were okay, and we've still got to work on the brakes some to get them working good or bled. You know, it had zero brake fluid in it in the master cylinder when we tried to drag it out of there. So we've got a little work for us that way. But the gas tank, the owner didn't like the smell of the gas tank and the rust in the neck and everything, so they put in a new stainless gas tank yesterday. And we're moving on. We're moving good. Of course, the brake master cylinder was locked up, and I got on line and asked a couple of people what they thought I need to do about that. And they gave me some good ideas, and we checked some things out. And the main thing is just take it off. Well, we didn't know if we could get a good one or what to do. We took that one off, and of course it was locked up. That's what the binding was. And Bobby took it over to the bench and just hammered on it and freed it up and got it working in and out. The spring was working fine, and we put it on there and we tried to bleed it. But it is 55 years old. I mean, it's bad, folks. It's bad, it's corroded, it's rusty, it's 55. So I called O'Reilly's And they said they had one. And I said, well, the owner's not here to let me know if I should order one. If you get me one, they said they could have it in the morning. I said, if you get me one, is it okay if he says no, that we don't have to take it? And they said, yeah, that's fine. So the little 12-year-old girl over in China made that beautiful, perfect match master cylinder. Look at that rib on the front and the little things up here. $109. I mean, I was very pleased. She does good work. But so I'm gonna bleed this thing. You put it in a vise and bleed it, and put it on there, and then sooner or later we'll get around to trying to bleed all the brakes and see if we've already got some of the brakes working. We pushed it and stopped it with the brakes, and so we're getting there, but it just takes time. I felt bad working on it all dusty, so I got some Armor All and wiped off the top and some Meguiar's and a microfiber and just wiped the top half of the body so it looked prettier. When we were running it, we had a big exhaust leak here, and we tried to fix this, but we were going to put some a new gasket here or reseal this gasket, but this bolt broke off when we tried to take it off. We tried all of the known procedures to get this broken off bolt out. None of them worked, so we put it here and milled it out and then rethreaded it. So now we got to clean all the chips up and everything. Sometimes these things aren't in your equation on how long it's going to take you to do a job. This added a lot of. I think we've done about all we can do. I mean, I don't know how to fix the oil pressure gauge. I'm a motorhead, I don't understand much else. But I think we're going to put the best carburetor we've got on it to get it home, and that way he can take the original carburetor to that guy that rebuilt the last one for us, and then he can put it on there, and then everything should be fine. The last of his cars, I think we might wait till spring, because he's scared that it's going to take a lot, and it hasn't been started since the 80s. He's afraid the motor's locked up, but I don't know why, when we've got these other four started, and none of them have been started in the last 25 years. So, but he's worried about it, and so I think we'll probably wait till spring to do it. But this turned out good. Before he leaves, we still have to bleed the brakes and like I say, find that another carburetor to get it home. But I think it all turned out good. I think he's happy, and I think we're happy.
Smooth as apple butter.
New tires. Does the horn work? There you go. She's ready to rope. I'd call that a good rescue. All right, Mopar people.